We're almost in. Just move it over a little bit. Hi, everybody. You look fantastic. I'm just going to check this and make sure this is doing what it's supposed to do. I'm still not sure I've got that Instagram thing down, but I'm checking. Now we're back. We can see ourselves now, at least. Hi, everybody. It is good to see you. I am so glad you are here today. Exciting stuff is coming up. First thing I want to tell you all about, look at this. Query Rooms is out. The books are on their way. I'm very excited for this one. Siri Vincent Blue will be here to do her book launch party Saturday, November 9th, 2:30 to 5:30, so come check it out. We will all have a blast. She was emailing me. I got her email this morning about some very interesting things she's doing. I think you're going to have a very good time. The other thing I wanted to mention, this is not a store thing, so this is not, we're just doing this out of the kindness of our hearts, is there is this wonderful, if you can read it backwards, I assume it's backwards, the Haunted Toy Box is coming up. This is a fundraiser being held by local pagan community leaders. It's Avenues for Youth, Queer Space Collective, and Reclaim are going to get the proceeds from the event. A silent auction is included. There's live music. There's dancing. I mean, just look at the acts coming in. I mean, come on, Trixie Del Mar. It's going to be a fabulous party. So come one, come all. Saturday night, 7 p.m. It's a little bit Wicked Wort Brewing. You got to go. You come to the Sewing Symposium on Saturday during the day, and then you know where you can party down Saturday night. And then, you can schlep yourself back over to the symposium on Sunday, which will be fun too. I'll be at the symposium. I'll be setting things up. You might see my kid wandering about occasionally. And I've got another dear friend who's definitely going to be stopping by and giving me a hand. Plus, we're having the book signing, so come by for that. Featured guest, she will be there. She is delightful. You definitely want to come to the signing. All right, what else have we got coming up? What else? For the rest of this month, at least? Not a ton. I'll be teaching tonight in the store, Herbalism Year 2. If you're interested in getting your herbalism stuff going, we usually start in the fall. You can probably still join Year 1 if you want. That's meeting one Saturday a month, but it's meeting all day long instead of every week for an hour or two. There will be a tour of the dark side with June Goslar Anderson this Saturday at 1 p.m. So if you're interested in learning more about Dracula, Bram Stoker, the man who brought us the legends, and Vlad the Impaler, she has been to the places, she has seen the scenes, she absolutely has a ton of information, and she's a good storyteller. So I'd recommend her books as well as her class on Saturday. There is normally a Reiki share at noon. I cannot be there, for I will be at the Sewing Symposium, but you are welcome to make use of our classroom at noon, from about noon to 2, to come in and share your Reiki energy with each other. I think it would be lovely. And Chris has his Palmistry 101 class coming up that same Sunday, the 27th. That's at 4. He is the most knowledgeable palm reader I've ever met. He is absolutely amazing, and he's just grown in depth and breadth of knowledge over the years. He has studied them all, and he understands them really well. I can give you a rudimentary palm reading. He's brilliant. Come and see him for his class, or come in earlier that day and get your palm read by all means. Of course, you'll see Facebook at 11:15. I will not be doing the Sunday one, but Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday we'll have our usuals: Meditation Mondays, a little magic on Tuesdays, a little herby Thursdays, and of course the big show. You're here now, or you're catching us on the reruns. That's what's coming up the rest of this month. Let me tell you about the rest of the readers, though. This is RavenWolf. He is one of them. Fabulous, fabulous reader. We'll be chatting in just a moment. Other readers besides RavenWolf, who is here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Saturdays. Very good reader. We also have Chris, of course, on Sundays. Paul does dream interpretations on Mondays from 2 to 6. And Winter is here doing tarot on Fridays. She is they are a fantastic reader, actually. Winter is here from 1 to 5. You are here during the week from 3 to 6, and on Saturdays, like noon to 2. Definitely come check him out. Chris gets here at about noon, usually. Might stay till 5, might get called away. I recommend coming in early on a Sunday for a palm reading. Totally worth it though. On to fun stuff. I finally got the jewelry order out. Isn't that cute? The double moons. And this is always one of my favorite styles. Look at that guy. Ignore all my wedding rings. So I have a bunch of rings that have come out. They brought necklaces, pendulums. Now this is Crystal Earth. Crystal Earth does sterling silver. So this is our shishi line. This is our nice line of jewelry. Really well set. They guarantee their work. But we had a host of new pendulums, new necklaces, new rings, just gorgeous stuff. I also have a line of books that has come in, focused on yoga and Hindu philosophy, basically. This was written, I do not want to mispronounce this gentleman's name. I can't say it because there's an H in the middle. I don't know. Here, you want to give it a shot? No. That's the dude. That's the dude right there. There's an ashram in upstate New York. Okay, there's more than one ashram in upstate New York, but this ashram in upstate New York has produced a bunch of books. You can find these books from another publisher online, but they also have the right to do this publishing, and they like the quality of their books better, and they're cheaper. So come in, check them out. They all kind of have the white top to the spine. You'll see them in Hinduism and in yoga, depending on what the book's actually about. And of course, I'm sure I mentioned it last week, but we just got in another little set of the small brooms. We have a ton of them. I will be bringing some of these to the Sewn Symposium, so check them out there too. In fact, if you see any like gaping holes on the store floor, it's because I raided the store today for the show. So there might be a few things you will not find here. If you had your heart set on them and you really, really want it, let me know if I'm here. I might know what bin it's in. I might be able to get it for you, but Witch's Bells, rooms, they will definitely be at the symposium. That's what I got for stuff.
Wow.
Now it's all about you.
Oh my God.
It's all about RavenWolf, the illustrious, the legendary, the longtime customer,
Oh, that's true.
and recent reader. You came in to sub for Tracy, did you not?
I did.
You did.
I came to Boston Stage. Ended up becoming a terror.
So yeah, we went through the audition process, and they all have to do that. They all do. Even I did it even though I was the one most people have auditioned with, I did it with another staff person before I was vetted to read here. So I'm so glad. And readings, if you're interested, are $2.50 per minute plus tax. And of course, you might get asked if you want to leave a tip. Just be aware. But yeah, good price for readings.
Yeah.
So what got you into tarot? How did it start?
Well, it started in, believe it or not, the state of Texas, in Dallas. I was a young person in rebellion, and about 8th grade, middle of 8th grade, my dad dropped me off at North Park, which is a big shopping center, and then I went immediately to Doubleday Books, because I was a bookworm, and I was looking at books, and all of a sudden I passed the sales counter, and there was a set of tarot cards. Now, that would have been unusual in 1971 in Texas anyway, but I immediately tuned into it, bought it, which is at $8.95. It was expensive for an illustrator, but I did, and I remember hiding it inside my jacket. So my dad did not see it because my parents were both very conservative Christians, and I kept it a secret for years.
Wow.
I did a few readings with friends, I did a lot of meditation, and it sort of has been like an underground river that's been part of my life at times and then kind of gone underground. But for the last, I'd say 2 years, it's been a major piece of my spirituality and how I relate to the world. So that's how it is.
Very nice. So you're running around the mall and you find was it, I have to ask, it was a Rider-Waite, was it not?
It was. Actually, I don't have the original deck, but I have a Rider-Waite deck with me. Yes, it was. And it was beautiful. And I bought the pictorial key to the tarot, which was a weight book.
Still a classic, yeah. Tarot book, yeah.
But it's such
Yes. Yeah, you do have to read that one with an understanding from where it came from. And of course, when you bought the deck, it was the Rider-Waite deck, but we're all aware now it's generally referred to as the Smith-Waite deck, so that the actual artist gets credit for
She
her
gets
work.
credit for
Yeah.
what she did.
Yeah, Pamela Coleman Smith is the artist, uh, frequently known as Pixie. I like Pixie as a nickname. I think that's a cool nickname.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. That was her little nickname, where she was apparently, the legend is, grossly underpaid
Surprise.
by,
In the late 1800s.
by Misters Ryder and Waite, who probably felt they were doing this poor little not entirely white lady a favor in the UK, in London, but it's still a good deck.
I had already had a love affair that year with love books. I discovered William Morris and Arts and Crafts. And so when I saw the deck, I'm like, oh, this is the late Arts and Crafts.
Yeah.
And it really is an antiquity or an ancientness to the cards. Should I bring it out?
Yes, you are, yeah.
Okay, this is a beautiful deck. I don't know if you can see any of this. Let's see.
There you go.
There we go. 10 of Cups in the front here. Beautiful rendition of family harmony and all that sort of thing. I just think the images on this are amazing, and there's a lot of symbolism. You look at Empress, I'm not real good at that,
There you go.
but you get the pregnant Empress, third in the major arcana, producing a lot of fruitfulness and new ideas. It's that sort of thing. And so I didn't understand the symbolism at first, but I started growing into numerological significance and the Kabbalistic significance of the cards.
It really does. As you layer on the additional knowledge about it, it adds depth to what you're reading. And it's one of the reasons those pieces, to me, can look fiddly. Like there's a lot of detail, there's a lot of little things in there. They're all in there for a reason. There's a symbolic reason for just about everything that's in those paintings, so it's amazing.
And that's true of many decks.
Yeah.
I think about every 5 years or so, I would make a book discovery of a new facet of tarot, and the biggest discovery was probably around 1980, 82. I discovered the Kabbalistic significance, and that to me is kind of the heart and center of how I do tarot.
That's impressive. Now you mentioned Major Arcana, because the second card, the Empress, is from the Major Arcana. The first card is from that you guys saw today was the Ten of Cups. That's from the Minor Arcana. How do you differentiate between the two?
Oh, I love this. Okay, give me a chance. There's 4 suits, just like a playing card deck. They are, let me go in order that I like them: fire, air, water, and earth. And they correspond to our 52-card deck, 10 suit. But those are the 4 main elements of creation. The 5th element that I have discovered over time is spirit, or ruach, or whatever you want to call that, that inhabits the entire creation and is sort of the creative part of our being. I think the major arcana, there are 22 cards in it, depict that journey and relate very well to the suit cards, but they are totally different, and they do not appear in the card deck that we use today.
Yeah.
It's really a separate piece. We don't know exactly where the progression came from, but it corresponds to a lot of different spiritual systems and spiritual development, basically.
Yeah, I've heard it described as the lifespan of a human being. I've heard it described as something that you'll cycle through again and again and again as you develop and grow. And if you've been around long enough, then you know that I went through something terrible. I got over the terrible thing. And 5 years later, it echoes back.
Yep. Comes back again.
And you're like, I thought I dealt with that. This is not fair. I'm sure I'd done all the work. I am sure you did 90% of it. Yes, I am. But I'm sure the 10% that you were not ready for,
it's a spot.
Waited for
You're
you.
going up. I mean, there's 22 cards, essentially, there's a 0 and 21.
Yeah.
And the 7s in the 3 sevens
Mm-hmm.
really reflect that threefold journey. And actually, that appears in Christianity, it appears in Buddhism, it appears in a lot of different religious traditions, that threefold development.
Because as Schoolhouse Rock said, 3 is a magic number.
It is a magic number. I absolutely believe that. In fact, I'll just tell you how I structure my readings. I usually do 1, 3, 5, or 10 cards.
Okay.
And of course, increasing complexity takes longer to read, but they also go deeper into where a person is. I can do a one card reading, and sometimes that is just spot on to where their heart chakra is. But when you do 3 and 5, it kind of spreads out into the system, both grounded and up above. And then eventually, 10 is really the tree of life reading where you go to all the Sephiroth and you're looking at nuances and development things. So I do all of those.
And the Sephiroth come from Kabbalah.
Yeah.
For those of you who are not aware, it's probably the most identifiable symbol set from that system. So if you'll even see it like gracing the book covers of some of the books on the subject matter. But yeah, how, I don't know how I want to ask the question. I want you to talk a little bit more about Kabbalah and Kabbalah symbolism. Yeah,
I have made a massive discovery in the last week, actually.
Ooh.
Because I've always wondered, how does spirit relate to different elements? And I've always tried different ways of relating them on the tree of life. And all of a sudden, this last week, I found a book. There's a Sephiroth that's not a Sephiroth. It's called Da'at, and it's right above. And this sounds very arcane, I'm familiar with the trees, but it's sort of the portal into spirit and into the higher things. Well, I never thought about it as being the portal, and all of a sudden now I'm realizing that is how knowledge and wisdom and things transfer down into our daily lives. So if we pay attention to that flow, we're likely to be a lot more aware of what's going on in our own lives.
I think, and the more aware we are, I think the better decisions we can make for ourselves, for the people who rely on us, all of that stuff. So I think that's important.
I'll just be candid. I'm in recovery from alcohol. I've been in the program for 4.5 years, and one of the cardinal things that I've discovered is true about tarot also, and that is you have absolutely everything within you to figure this out.
Yeah.
You don't need a new system. You do not need knowledge. You do not need action. You have that within yourself. And the goal of tarot and the goal of my readings is to elicit that from within the person. Because a lot of times the person will come with a question.
Yeah.
Whether it's, am I ever going to get married? Should I take this job? What's going on with my kids? And I usually say I'll answer that question if you want, and especially if you don't tell me what it is, which is the better way to go.
Always.
Yeah, always. I don't want to know what the question is, but I'll answer it. But I said the wiser and the more spiritual way of looking at this is universe, what do you want to tell me?
Yeah.
What do I need to know right now?
Yeah.
And I learned that from the reader, and that has been an amazing question to ask. Universe, what do I need to know?
Well, and even frankly, in the most standard, bog standard of readings, even if you're doing a Celtic cross, I think there are those cards that's their job. That's just what they're doing. That's what they're there to do, to talk to you, to get you to help you face fears you have, to get you to acknowledge whether or not your hopes are in alignment with the likely outcomes or your idealized outcome, to see what kind of support you have in the situation. I think all that's contained in those kinds of readings. But it isn't about, none of those things are directly about, am I going to get the thing I want? They're all about what's going on in me, what's going on around me, and what do I need to understand to move forward as successfully as possible. So yeah, I love tarot for that. And it also fits completely with the philosophy of the shop. I mean, when Roger founded this place, this has always been a place for you to explore and discover and be empowered. I don't do spells for people. I will talk to you about how to do your own spell. But I will talk to you about whether or not I think the type of spell you want to do is the wisest type of spell. That I think you should do it because you want it and it therefore should be your energy.
I remember the first time I walked in the store, and Roger was behind the counter. This is probably 12 years ago. I'm guessing at least that long, maybe longer. And I walked in and I felt like a kid in a candy store because there were all these herbs and there were tarot decks and there were cauldrons and there were all these things. And I think that the hardest thing, if you're getting into this whole system of esoterica, is to say what fits me.
Yeah.
What should I do? Because it isn't the same for everyone. In fact, I would argue it's never the same.
Yeah.
It's always unique to you, and the joy is when you discover that and you live into it.
Yep.
Your life, I hate to say it, magically changes.
It does.
It does. It changes your whole viewpoint on life.
Everything just seems to flow better.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just seems to go better. It's sort of amazing. I have dabbled in subject matter. Like I have cast my own astrological birth chart by hand. I've done all the calculations. I've done all the things. I did it as an exercise to learn astrology. I'm not an astrologer. No, you know what I know? I know how to make excuses for my personality based on my sign. That's what I do. Which is, I think, the first step. I think that's the first level. That makes me a first-degree astrologer.
There you go.
Totally amateur. But ask me about herbal magic, ask me about tarot, I'm more knowledgeable. I'm more, those things pulled me further along, so those are the things that I have done more with. I've written articles on palm reading. I can read a palm, but nothing on Chris's level, because that's just where he has gnosis, where he just dives in and he studied all of the systems.
Yep. Well, I think that's the essence of what magic represents, is a community of learning, a sangha, if you will, if you want to be Buddhist about it, a community of learners and practitioners who learn from each other.
Yeah.
They really do. And I just enjoy that so much in the short time I've been here. It's been amazing to talk to people and find out where they're at.
It's my favorite thing. Yeah, it's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing to watch two people have a conversation, or more than two people have a conversation, that come at it from completely different perspectives. To have a Buddhist have a conversation with a Wiccan, have a conversation with, somebody who's agnostic. That's a fascinating conversation. So I love it when that happens on the store floor, and it happens often. I am happy to say. It's a lovely time.
Yep. Do we have a few minutes to go to tarot decks?
Yeah, let's start with tarot decks.
Some tarot decks. I love all of these decks for different reasons.
You brought in the deck that scares some people.
Yeah, it scares me. No, this is in a very formative period of my life. I was introduced to the Crowley deck, otherwise known as Toss. Basically, just like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it was done by Alistair Crowley and an assistant. And she did all of these.
She did the paintings, yep.
And you're going to have to help me with the last name, but there's a man named Lon who wrote a book that really describes the whole process.
Duquette, yeah. Lon Milo Duquette is his name, yeah. He was wonderful.
He really explains how all these work. The distinguishing feature of this is that, number one, each of the minor arcana have kind of a label at the bottom of what the card represents. I will argue that they aren't always completely correct, but they certainly point you in a direction. There's astrological symbols a lot. I don't know what's to show that. There you go. And the colors are amazing. Again, this comes from early 20th century. I think it was done in the late 30s.
Somewhere in there, yeah. I usually say, early to mid 20th century. And I will say that deck and the Smith-Waite deck, they've set the tone for the modern tarot deck entirely. Yeah. Ooh.
So we should do this. This is one of my personal favorites, and when I give a choice, which I usually do, people will likely pick this one, and it is the Golden Tarot by a woman named, or a person named Cat Black. And she has put together a deck based on Romanesque paintings. And so she, as an art historian, was able to put together different images from Romanesque period. And I think it was on an NPR interview she did. They asked, why Romanesque? It's really not a very attractive form of art. It's flat.
Very flat. Yeah.
She said, I chose Romanesque for this reason. It was a time of chaos and death. And guess what we got?
Yeah.
We're in that time. And I found this deck to really be sensitive to where people are at and sort of responsive to their inner workings. So that's one of my favorites. I did bring one last one that I love. I call it the Northeast Minneapolis deck. It's called Urban Tarot.
I like this one.
Yeah, I love this. And I just picked a couple of these cards. The one I love, and it's all scenes. So the symbols are embedded in the scenes, and this is love, which is 2 of Cups, and it's 2 women having coffee. I just think that's amazing. Okay, well you can do that anyway. You don't have to go anywhere needs to have coffee. But okay, the Magus, like card number one, the Mage in this scene is composing music and surrounded by the four symbols. Well, I don't know.
He likes to
There we
autofocus.
go. You can see he's got his computer open. Well, this guy's probably in the arts district in Northeast Minneapolis. So I do one last one because I think these are just fascinating.
They're beautiful cards.
Oh, they're gorgeous. I don't know why I'm going to cups today all the time.
It's about love today.
It is about love. I hope so. It should always be about love. Okay, the high priestess is a woman in a bathtub, and she is luxuriating in her repose. I just think that's amazing, and there's a lot of nuance. This entire deck takes very seriously those five elements that I was talking about. If you look at the book that goes with it, and by the way, every tarot deck usually has some kind of instruction book.
Almost always is a little
Yeah,
booklet,
little
yeah.
book, and of course, then that's a teaser to get you to go buy a bunch of other books at Magic's. But they talk about the interaction of the four elements with and how they're reflected in the different cards.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
And you talked about major arcana. What do you think about how do you work with the minor arcana?
Well, that's a good question. I usually see them as practical outworking of the spiritual journey. So if I see this, sometimes I get readings that are almost entirely major.
Oh, wow.
And then
Yeah.
like, wow, something's going on here because this is about transition, this is about development. But when I see, like, for example, a lot of cups, I don't automatically think of love, although that's one meaning. I think of the quest for the Holy Grail. Because the cups really refer to that, those inner workings down here. Oh, this would be another thing. I really think that these elements have soft locations in our body.
Oh, okay.
So, spirit, fire, air, water, earth. If you feel something in your gut, that's your water. That's like, okay, intuition, subconscious, relationships, the ebb and flow of relationships. Of course, earth is grounding, fire is motivation, air, I hate to say it, is my least favorite.
Oh.
It's about working things out and conflict and strife as well as creativity and communication and dialogue.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just have a hard time with swords and air. But ironically, my birth card is the Three of Swords.
Oh my goodness.
I know that's what everybody says when they see it. I have it tattooed on my right thigh so I don't forget it.
We should find one.
Oh, we should.
Because not everybody's going to know what we're talking about. So
Yes,
let's find a Three of Swords.
Oh, I wish I could pull it out already. I want to show it in black.
Yeah, through the
Because that
classic.
is the most, and actually, I did use this version on my thumb. I'll tell you why in a minute. Well, hopefully we'll-
If you are willing, I would be happy to go through part of the deck. But if you
I
want to
actually
go,
like the text.
you go
They're
for
my
it.
favorite text.
That's okay.
And somewhere in here, watch it not be in here,
It'll be in
my
there.
birth card. And you find that cycle of 365 days a year. They're called decans
Mhm.
that show up. That's in the Lon's book.
Okay.
That's what I found this. I was
Okay.
so embarrassed about it when I found out. I'm like, no, I'm not going to take this. I tried to find another way to calculate it, and his is the best. Okay, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be the last one.
But you have found the two, so that's good.
There you go. There we go.
Alicia, Marie, I am so looking forward to seeing you at that class next year. It should be fun. Look at this card, though.
Look at that. Look at that. Would you want that to be your card? No. There's rain clouds in the background, a heart pierced by three swords, and it is tough.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's a growth card. It really doesn't represent finality of destruction. It is the progress in learning how to negotiate through the world. Now, the reason I don't have this card on my thigh is a deck called the alchemical deck.
Mm-hmm.
The bleeding heart feeds the rose at the bottom
Oh,
of the
nice.
card. And since I like the mystic rose a lot, red for passion, white for purity, I decided to add that at the bottom because that's the goal. is to be able to progress and develop both in passion and
That makes sense.
That's-
Now, Alicia, hi Debbie. Alicia is saying, Maria is saying that 10 of swords is what pulls her. So what do you think of 10 of swords? I mean, that's also a nice scary card. Thank you very
That's a
much.
very scary. I'm not going to get it out. I'm too scared of it. No, it's a finality, and I guess I'll say, okay, in the tenfold scheme of things, 1 through 7 is the development, and if you remember the old-fashioned plays, you always had the development climax and then the working out, the denouement. And the 7 through 10, or 8 through 10, is that working out. At the end of the swords, it's all sad. You're not going to be able to change anything. You better get used to this. Yet, at the 10 is the end of the cycle. So you're getting ready to move on to something else. And moving in progression, then you move to the Ace of Cups from there. So I think that's not a bad card, but it looks terrible.
Yeah.
Because it really speaks of finality. It's like the die is cast.
And I'm so glad you said that you don't think it's a bad card, because when I was trained in tarot as a high schooler, I was told there is no such thing as a bad card.
That's true.
There's never a bad card. There are cards that are scarier than others. There are cards that will ask you to pay attention more than others, but none of them are actually bad.
Well, and I, for years, did not read the reverse. I just banned it from my vocabulary. About a year ago, I started reading reverse again, because reverse doesn't always mean negative. And we get these books that talk about, well, this is the opposite of that. Well, in actuality, they're in dialogue.
Right.
And I always think that it's possible that a flipped card should go upside down or right side up.
And in many, not at all, but in many cases, it's the same as the upside version, but less so. And if it's a scary card, it's less scary when it's reversed.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would never, I think it's a whole nother layer of information to add, a whole nother piece to add on, just like you can add Kabbalistic symbolism, zodiacal information. So it's something that, yeah, I don't blame anybody if they ban it for a while. I just spend years reading without reversals. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you're ready, it's there for you, and you can add that little level of complexity to what you're doing. It's a good way to go. So Debbie, Ross, how are you guys doing over there? Let me know. But yeah, no, I love a good tarot reading, and I love the cards the decks that you use. They're fantastic. And I will often tell people, yeah, that Thoth deck from Aleister Crowley and the Smith Artistry in the Waite deck, that's why we have the number of tarot cards we have in a deck today, because I have historical decks that have the elements, the muses, all the zodiacal signs, and some other cards that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, that just, the deck it's not this thick, it's this thick. It really wasn't standardized until these guys came along and really did this.
And there are some other decks that are standing again. I don't know if you're aware of them, you probably are. Tarot Teal out of Belgium has a 5th suit called Vessels that represents the alchemical journey, and I have used that quite a bit. It is scary because I don't understand it all, but I also know enough to know that I won't ever know all of it, so I just dive in. But the alchemical journey is also a reflection of the major arcana.
Yeah.
7 stages of the alchemical journey to deification. That's is just amazing. And there are other decks. There's one that I like. It's really, I hate to say it, male dominated, but it's valid for a certain part of the population. Mostly gay men. It's called St. Jinx. Jinx. You can find it on Instagram. You cannot get to the juicier parts on Instagram. But if you go to the website and go in there, you can see the decks, and they are perfect artistry.
Yeah.
The man took different, I would say, what do you call it, modes of looking at how tarot should be shaped, and also in relationship to the journey of gay men.
Nice.
So that's another one you have. You have the cat tarot, you have the crow tarot.
Absolutely.
If you look for a specific deck for what you love, and
yeah, there are decks geared just for financial stuff. There are decks geared, even though they've got all the suits, there are decks geared really primarily at love. So yeah, you can absolutely find what you need. And That's a major tinkering in that alchemical deck, but there's been a lot of minor tinkering. Like I have a deck that does not have the devil. They took the devil out, they replaced the devil with a different figure.
Interesting.
I have decks that have 3 cards for the lovers. You are supposed to go through and pick out the one you want, and I leave them all in.
I do too.
Totally leaving them when that happens. But yeah, there have been, and there's been a couple other tinkers that I know have happened that I've got in decks that are coming to mind, but there's just little tweaks here and there sometimes. Will
Well, I
happen.
remember gender expansive decks.
Yes, yeah.
They're really not, how should we say, cis-oriented.
Yep.
Because you usually have like a man and a woman. For example, in the urban deck, it's 2 women.
Yeah,
But you could have a man and a woman, you could have a man and a man. It really is not gender based.
yeah.
And this whole myth about gender is true, but it's not what it appears to be, and it's a spectrum.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
true
always been a
in
spectrum.
alchemical journey too. You really learn that it's fluidity
Yeah.
that counts.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just, and this is what I always say to these kinds of things, which is, sorry, I'm Gen X. Y'all have gotten me wrong my whole life. And either I was going to get very angry and go crazy, or I was going to start laughing. I'm okay with laughing. It keeps me sane, it keeps me healthy, and yeah, people can keep getting it wrong. It's okay. If you take me as I am, I will do my best to take you as you is, and it will be fine and fair. And I think as long as we approach with love, I think we get what we need out of that situation. Oh my goodness. From South Africa, Debbie, are you coming in? Are you there now? Oh my goodness. Well, thanks for joining us. That is so cool. All right.
Any questions?
Yeah, if you guys have any. Oh my goodness. Alicia, so you both get the Ten of Swords? Is that what you're saying in that comment? Every time when it's for you, it's the Ten of Swords. Wow. So something's closing. That's what that would say to me.
Yeah.
Something's closing, and maybe looking for a new project might be a good idea.
Something is crystallized.
Yeah. Maybe time to move to the next thing. And that's not a bad place to be. That's a place full of possibilities. It brings to mind, actually, I only know this quote because I liked the quote, and it was on a t-shirt for a fledgling rock band
Oh,
that I'm sure is broken
That
up
must be true.
long since. It's a quote from Nietzsche, though. It was the urge to destroy is a creative urge.
ooh.
Yeah. It's like if you're clearing the decks, if you're done with the project and you're clearing the decks, that's really an urge to do something new, to become creative again and live in that way again. And I love that idea.
I think there's a real synergy between active and passive in the 4 Cs. If you're looking at active, it would be fire and air.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would not call it passive, I would call it receptive.
Receptive, yeah.
Receptive would be water and earth,
Yeah.
because they basically exist and absorb.
Mhm.
And whereas fire and air are very active and
They move, yeah. Water will move things, but
very well.
it will move things by taking them into itself. Whereas that's not really what's going on with air at all. And you can say fire takes things into itself, but I would say it eats things. There's a different connotation to me, personally.
That's
But we should come up with a fabulous secret word for our shoppers. Well, there's a discount word. I don't know. What should we make it? Let's see. That's actually a topic that I'd love to have you come back and talk more on in the future.
okay.
Alchemy.
Okay. Why don't we make that our secret word?
Let's make that the
Let's say
secret word.
alchemy.
Let's make
Definitely. I would love to talk about that. That means a lot to learn more about it, which I am a fledgling in that area. I do think there are so many correspondences between the 7 stages of alchemy and everything else.
But it's clearly captured your
Oh,
imagination.
it has, definitely. I just feel ginger about talking about it because it's very provisional and also it's kind of challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, it truly is. Let's do that in a few months. I think that'll be fun.
Great.
So we have our secret word. Alchemy is the secret word for the rest of the week. If you come into the shop and share the secret word with the staff, they should remember to give you a discount. I'll leave them a little note.
Post-it note.
A little post-it note hidden somewhere where they can find it. But in the meantime, I hope everybody has a great week. Tune in tomorrow for the quickie on herbal knowledge. If you've got any votes, let me know. I'll probably cover any herb that gets suggested. If not, I have a few hundred that I can choose from. No pressure. And if I see you this weekend at the Samhain Symposium out in Plymouth, Minnesota, come by, say hi. I look forward to it. And in the meantime, have a great week. Bless and be, folks.